Breaking overnight, President Trump enacting sweeping new tariffs on steel and aluminum, 25%. Europeans are retaliating in a major way. And this morning, the huge concern is American consumers who are caught in the middle of all this and could soon be paying the price literally. Let's walk you through this really quick. Overnight, the president slaps 25% tariffs on all steel and aluminum imports from all countries. And just a few hours later, Europe's remarkable retaliation, $28 billion worth of tariffs they now have imposed on U.S. goods going into their countries. Bottom line, the uncertainty everyone was already feeling just got upstaged by this word, unjustified. That is how the EU and close allies like Australia are feeling about Trump's actions right now, as U.S. markets soon open after yesterday's volatile close.
Everyone is keeping a very close eye on futures, of course, and preparing for what is to come with the markets when they open very soon after President Trump's latest round of tariffs kicked in at midnight. An across the board 25% tariff on all foreign steel and aluminum coming into the United States, both metals used in the manufacturing so many things, from cars to medical devices to food cans, which means higher prices for American businesses, many of them, and also American consumers. CNN's Vanessa Yurkevich, she is here with a look at all of this. What is the impact on all this?
Well, this trade war just went global.
Yeah.
The 25% tariffs on aluminum and steel coming into the country took effect at midnight. And as you mentioned, so many things are made with steel and aluminum. And if you just look at all the countries that we import steel and aluminum from, I mean, there they are. And that is a big, big number. Also, to point out that the prices of those steel and aluminum imports will rise, and that'll have an impact on U.S. steel and aluminum prices. Already in the past 2 months, steel up 30%, aluminum up 15%. And this is critical, obviously, for American consumers because, as you mentioned, cars, appliances, medical devices are going to see the impact of these tariffs eventually. We heard from Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick last night. He talked about what he thought tariffs meant for the economy. Take a listen.
Will these policies be worth it if they lead to a recession, even a short-term recession?
These policies are the most important thing America has ever had.
So it is worth it.
It is worth it. I don't think the only reason there could possibly be a recession is because of the Biden nonsense that we had to live with.
Now, Goldman Sachs just upped their forecast on a recession to 20% from 15%. The odds are still relatively low, according to them, but people are talking about this, what this means for the overall economy. Futures this morning slightly up. They could just be waiting to see what happens today. A little bit of a recovery from yesterday.
I think futures were up too, right?
I was going to say in the morning they were up, and that obviously changed throughout the day. And if we have it here, it's just interesting to see what the markets have done in the first term and the second term with Trump. We may not have that, but essentially markets were up. There. Okay. Markets were up for the first term. You can see it right down there on the left-hand side of your screen. Markets have turned down just in the first 6 weeks of his second term. Obviously, many more years to go, but it just shows the really big difference in what is happening in the first couple weeks of his administration. We will wait to see what happens at the opening bell. So much can change in so little time. The EU, as we know, just reciprocated against us $28 billion worth of goods now taxed because of these aluminum and steel tariffs.
CNN's Matt Egan is joining me now. What does the latest round of tariffs really mean to Americans? Because you don't feel it immediately, but Wall Street generally gives you some sense. You do get hit there first.
That's true. I mean, look, Sarah, another day, another tariff hike from the president. The goal here is to try to level the playing field in global trade. The problem, though, is that some experts are warning it could backfire because steel and aluminum are critical inputs, right? They are used to make everything from medical devices and cans, appliances, infrastructure, power lines, and the big one, cars. Remember, cars, they have they have a lot of steel and aluminum in them, right? And car prices, they're already basically at record highs. So it's hard to see how making a key input more expensive with this 25% tariff is going to help things here. Some experts are warning that, yes, this could backfire on not just consumers, but also on workers. I talked to Ken Smetters. He's a professor at Wharton, where the president went to school, and he said this is not going to help manufacturing it will hurt manufacturing. Even Alcoa, one of the biggest aluminum makers in the United States, has warned that these tariffs could kill 100,000 American jobs. There's also the risk that it ignites a global trade war. The U.S. imports a lot of steel and aluminum each year, a lot of it from Canada, but also Mexico, China, the UAE, Brazil, South Korea. Now these countries have to decide how are they going to respond. The European Union, not wasting any time here, they immediately announced retaliatory tariffs on items that are made in America, including, we've seen bourbon, peanut butter, jeans, boats, motorbikes, all of them, $28 billion of U.S. goods face retaliatory tariffs. Now, the EU tariffs, they don't kick in until next month, so that leaves some time for some negotiation, of course. But if they do kick in, this could hurt U.S. workers in these sectors because the stuff that they make just got more expensive.
You know, Trump has been saying, look, there is pain and there is going to be a disruption that's going to happen, but eventually this is going to be good. The question is how long Americans will be able to shoulder this pain. We will have to wait and see, and we are waiting for the markets. Right now, things looking slightly up, but nothing like what happened with the downturn yesterday.
Yeah,
right?
Slightly up after some days of really steep losses.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. We'll wait for the bell to ring. Kate?
And as the president's sweeping tariffs on foreign steel and aluminum will likely be adding even more pressure on what's been a week of U.S. stocks plunging, the Wall Street Journal's editorial board continues to call out President Trump in a way really that only the Wall Street Journal can, writing this in part: the trouble with trade wars is that once they begin, they can quickly escalate and get out of control, all the more so when politicians are nearing an election campaign, as Canada now is, or when Mr. Trump behaves as if his manhood is implicated because a foreign nation won't take his nasty border taxes lying down. We said from the beginning that this North American trade war is the dumbest in history, and we were being kind. That's from the Wall Street Journal. Joining us right now is Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut. There's that side of it, Senator. But then you have the iron and steel industry, aluminum steel industry in the United States, and they like what they're seeing here. A trade group calls these tariffs very effective. The head of American Iron and Steel Institute saying that things would be, without those tariffs, much worse for the industry. So what say you about where things stand today with this trade war?
This trade war threatens not only a global trade conflict, but also an immediate recession for the United States. Higher prices for consumers, not just on cars, but on gasoline and energy. For example, the imports of Canadian electricity, which are about 11% of the Northeast supply, and prices of groceries, food, milk, eggs will likely rise. And the imminence of a recession may be less painful for the billionaires and for the Secretary of Commerce, who says it's no big thing, but it will affect average, everyday Americans. So the pain is going to be felt nationwide, and it's avoidable. The last time we tried one of these major trade wars, I think under President McKinley, it proved to be a disaster, and he concluded it was a mistake.
Well, the president was asked about the immediate impacts that we've seen, which is this massive sell-off we've seen in U.S. stocks and continued fears about a recession, given how he's answered the questions around it. And I want to play for you what President Trump said yesterday.
Do you and your tariff policies right now bear any responsibility for the turmoil we're seeing this week?
Biden gave us a horrible economy. He gave us horrible inflation. And I think the market was going to go very, very bad.
When does this become the Trump economy? He is just 6 weeks in. Can he argue this still is not his to own?
The economy under Joe Biden was chugging along pretty well. And what Donald Trump is doing now is potentially going to disrupt disastrously a success story for America. And that's why business executives are expressing alarm. The Wall Street Journal is calling it the dumbest thing they've seen. And why he's doing it is really a mystery. He should be building on this economy, not trying to undermine and destroy it with these self-destructive tariffs, which are not only undermine American economic power, but also militarily and of course our standing in the world, because nobody can figure out where we're going from here. And the back and forth, tariffs one day, withdrawn or delayed the next, creates an uncertainty which itself undermines the economy.